Peace. How everybody doing? This is Poet Deep, and I'm back again for this next vlog. So for this vlog right now for the night, I'm just really just going to be giving kind of like my own personal testimony of why I'm doing what I'm doing, like what motivates me, and try to give a little brief synopsis of my story and who I am, especially for those who are not familiar with me. Poet Deep, that's my artist stage name. My actual name is Ogun Lumumba, my first and last name. I'm a hip hop artist, public speaker. I deal with real estate. You see the shirt, cash for houses, particularly wholesale. That's what I do. Looking to get more deals up under my coat or up under my sleeve, whatever. I do a lot of other things. I'm a health food advocate and things like that. But more importantly, the reason why I do this, not only am I just doing this for my family and to develop and myself and things like that, but I'm doing this for those brothers who are feeling like they're hopeless, brothers who feel like they don't really have no other options, brothers who are really trying to do good, and even for brothers who ain't necessarily trying to do good because of a lack of better options that's presented to them. But brothers who have some smarts and they just don't know how to connect the dots. Somebody who I once was, and even as like I'm 33 right now, I feel like I'm really just getting a grasp on how to move even more precise. I give myself kudos over the years as a family man. I think I've made some great achievements. I think I've weathered some great storms. However, there's still many milestones to make, still many more lessons and things like that I need to learn. But I'm doing this for the brothers that don't really feel like they got options. Brothers, who feel like any day could be their last. They got families, they got people depending on them, and the 9 to 5 is just not working out for them. Brothers who are contemplating picking up that gun and robbing somebody to try to relieve their financial stress, or brothers that are thinking about picking up some drugs, pills, or whatever, doing destructive things in order to meet their financial needs, right? So, I do this for people in general, because this is just part of my calling in life, is to provide value. But specifically, I'm doing this with hopes that I can be a voice of reason to a brother, what I'm saying? A brother that got the felonies on their record and things like that. Things where they feel like they're just completely counted out in society. And I believe that a lot of our brothers make the decisions that they made because of a lack of better information, or a lack of information in terms of, or better information, because information is information. All information is not good. But the whole point is, a lot of us don't really understand the resources, how to leverage it, and how to step by step address issues in life, and how to really get to the crux of problem solving. And from my own testimony, I've been through a lot just in my life, period. But as a family man, taking on a family, I've had to really dig deep within myself into a place that I didn't even know was there, for understanding, to be able to do what was necessary for my family, to understand situations that were outside of my control that I had to tolerate, the patience that I had to have, the beatings that I had to endure. And I still had to be strong for my family, at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Just so much stuff not going right. Eviction notices on the door, having run down raggedy vehicles. And it seemed like almost every other week something is going down, and having jobs where as though I had to have a vehicle in order to get there. And then it just felt like it was just, just a terrible downward spiral. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about crazy stuff, that I could really explain to people, as far as just the different things that I've went through as a father and as a provider, is as far as, not having sufficient means and things like that, to be able to adequately feed my family. The blessing is inside of the home. The spiritual tone and the engagement never really reflected our economic position as far as being impoverished, right? Being an impoverished family. Because, the definition of poverty, the statistics, the numbers and stuff like that, we're well below the poverty line. And even now, we're still well below the poverty line. Like, like I'm in my basement right now. You see what I'm saying? But my family, we do live in the hood, and we live in a very active, dangerous neighborhood. We're well respected, for those who know us in the neighborhood, but nevertheless, there's still many things that we're growing to do. And right now, I'm actually addressing that problem of getting my family into a better neighborhood that, we can be able to really bring about a good family spirit, a connection with nature, being able to be outside and things like that. So, I'm doing this for brothers like that because, a lot of times I'm listening to podcasts of people that, is going for financial independence. Like I'm on a journey. I don't hear nobody really with my story. I don't really hear someone that is a provider for 6 other people, in terms of, my wife who do remarkable work inside of the house, and then my 5 children, and just dealing with them and all of their different elements and things like that, and not only am I, financially responsible, I'm emotionally and spiritually responsible, and just wearing those different hats and those different dynamics has been, it's been a very tremendous job. It has been burdensome, and all at the same time, it has also been very rewarding at the same time. But I've taken a lot of blows. And the more I've matured, I come to see how a lot of these blows are byproducts of my decisions and the lack of information that I had about addressing these situations in a different way to bring about a different result. So I do this for brothers, those on the streets, because that's where I come from. I come from the streets. At one time, I was a criminal. You understand what I'm saying? I was breaking the law and different things like that for survival, So I know about being a puppet, and I feel like I could have still been out there being a puppet or doing destruction and things like that had I not been able to learn another way of how to being able to apply my energy and just knowing how to correctly set my ducks in a row, and because sometimes I used to get overwhelmed by just having a big family, like, man, really, really making it financially, like, is this really even possible? I didn't set myself up with so much responsibilities, and the more I'm learning now, it's like, yeah, even exactly where I'm at, where I'm exactly positioned, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope. And not just dealing with hope, but just understanding the steps that need to be taken. We need the guide. So I want to be the guide for, our brothers, to keep our brothers from going to destruction of ending up in prison, another family devastated, or brother dead, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Any unnecessary collateral damage and casualties, I want to be able to prevent that with this information. So much stuff has happened, like I said, from the raggedy vans, eviction notices, not keeping up, never, at one time, never making enough money to pay the bills and stuff like that, and just expending so much of my physical energy in the rat race to put more money into a problem that just couldn't be solved, and then just different dynamics kept going on, then finding out that I was a type 1 diabetic, and everything that came around that, because it was for a while I had diabetes and I didn't know. My body was suffering badly. You know what I'm saying? For years, my body was suffering badly with energy. You know, I can go into a long story about the stuff that I've been through, you know, as far as my body just being worn out, you know, to the point that, you know, tired, falling asleep while I'm on the highway at work, driving. You see what I'm saying? Driving, fall asleep. You know, time I was in Pennsylvania doing a delivery for a company that I work for, fell asleep out at the red light. You see what I'm saying? Fell asleep out at the red light. As soon as I woke up, my mind processed that I was on the road and I was supposed to be driving. It was still a red light. I hit the gas and I ran right into the back of this woman's car. So, and I'm saying like collision at the collision, problem at the problem. For years, this has been something that has been going on, and it's all been tied to not just finances, but also just spiritual centeredness. You know, and I've realized there's many levels to spiritual centeredness. You know, it's not just about, you know, like for years I've been a very peaceful person, you know, learning how to be very strategic with how I deal with people, how I communicate, always being an advocate of communication, not trying to be a hothead, not trying to live by my emotions. And it's been very trying, you know, because I've been challenged so much over the years, you know what I mean, of just some stuff that's just certain things I just thought would, you know, not happen to me by certain people. And I had to keep a calm head, you know, to be able to keep them lines of communication. I've also seen the benefit of that as well, because I've been able to maintain relationships with people, you know, when major misunderstandings, whereas though years ago I would have personalized it and I would have allowed it to become a wedge, because at one time that's how I dealt with problems. That's how I dealt with confusion. You know, it got to a certain point, especially if I had some type of respect for you and it wasn't something that, you know, like, you know, I'm gonna get violent about this, you know what I mean? I would just leave it, you know? So, and I realized in my own spiritual development that that's not healthy. You know, the communication process, you know, we're humans, you know, and we got to learn how to do the human thing. We got to learn how to talk. We got to go through that process of being vulnerable about expressing how we thought, how we seen a situation, questioning people and why they did what they did, you know, and I understand you can't have that with everybody, because some of our minds are just so warped, you know. But, you know, this is just part of me and my own struggle. You know, me learning how to become a better communicator, me becoming somebody that's like not, you know, basically wearing my hurt on my sleeve. Because I was once a person that used to feel betrayed by so much, by people. And I seen myself, and I used to drink a lot. You know, I used to drink a lot of alcohol. You know, it's been like 10 years now since I've had alcohol, but I used to drink a lot, you know, and I seen myself growing up to be one of them people who was kind-hearted, you know, really loved people, but due to me absorbing the hatred that, you know, people had for me, is that I ended up becoming a toxic person. I seen myself becoming that, you know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't dealing with my hurt, you know, I wasn't really dealing with my pain and things like that. So, but it's different levels, the spiritual centeredness. And what I mean is, like, when I started to really pay attention, and take note of my patterns, my behavior patterns, you know, because one thing about me, you know, that I had to come to realize, this is just through my own growth, is I have a high threshold for pain. And and I have a high tolerance. I've developed a high tolerance for chaos. And I've been in situations in life where, as though I've had to learn how to be steady while going through turbulent conditions, right? I had to learn it for survival, but I misutilized that ability. So found myself in situations where, as though I had more power to change it, and due to the fact that sometimes, you know, I could take something, I didn't seek to solve the issue because I could take it. You see what I'm saying? It's like I could take it. You know, it's just kind of like one of them things where, as though you got $100, right? And I say, for instance, you know, you recklessly spend $10 and you're like, well, I got $100, I got 90 left. You know, I'm not going, you know, and I'm not saying you should hop down on $10 gone, but $10 could have been something that could have been put to other use somewhere. And if you get in the habit of irresponsibly doing that with $10, the cumulative effect, because of your habits, it creates something that could be a disaster one day. It ends up becoming an avalanche that could roll, that could roll over you. So the more and more, because one thing about me for years, I've always been a very reflective person, and I'm talking about mainly on myself, about how I talk, how I've dealt with situations, things people have said to me. Like, I'm a very reflective person. I spend a lot of time to do that. I am grateful for that ability in the midst of my other shortcomings. That's a strong point of mine. I'm very reflective. You know what I'm saying? So long story short, as I was doing that, I was just looking like it's certain situations that I have the power to change. And certain things I wasn't even realizing, like, you keep going through this cycle over and over and over again. Like, I'm looking through, just through different cycles, of how, you putting your energy here, your energy need to be there. I know you think this is important, but if you spend time dedicating to this will take care of this. And, me being on too many fronts at one time, trying to address too many things at too many times, and how fast my mind was moving with so many ideas that this had to be addressing, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the energy that I was putting out was genuine, but it's just like, you got a whole bunch of balls coming your way and you trying to hit every last one of them because you feel like if you miss the ball, you know what I'm saying, you feel like there's an opportunity lost. Instead of just walking away and just letting the balls fall where they lay and say, it'll be another day. Let me figure out another way how to be able to do this. And so a lot of my problems have came from that. Is not dealing with situations at the root. And one thing I've learned, like I remember when I was locked up, when I was like, I don't know if I was like 18. Well, I think I was young, whatever. I can't remember my age, but one thing that always challenged my thinking, and when they say like, 10% of what happens to you is inevitable. 90% is how you react. And that was something that, as me being a reflective person, that was something that always sticks with me. Always. Even when I looked into situations and I couldn't obviously see my responsibility. I couldn't see it. And the more and more I've grown, I see a lot of times my responsibility in a situation, even if I wasn't the one who made it go bad. I understand life is just a dynamic, whereas though it's not always about you, were you the one that caused the issue. It's about, are you going to be the one that solved the problem? Because if you don't solve the problem, then you got to deal with the weight of that burden. So you might as well get the problem solving, right? So with that being said, it took me a while to look within myself to really look at, man, like, what are the problems that I keep on facing? Then, listening to my wife, had to, listen to her. What was she saying about me, about certain patterns and things like that? Like listening to her, listening to other people, because that's part of my reflection. It ain't just about what I want to think about. It's about what other people are saying about me, especially people who have spent a significant time around me, right? So me just looking at all of these different cycles that I kept going through, like just like a job, you know what I mean? Like kept finding myself like, you keep being upset about these low paying jobs, but you keep interviewing, you keep applying for low paying jobs. You're not really applying your skills. Like somebody such as myself, and I know there's other people like that, like, I'm very good with, words. I'm very good with words. I have a very great shining personality. There's no reason that I should be working in a low paying job unless my intrinsic value I haven't realized. And, going through my struggles, it's like I got in of what I thought, I got out of it what I thought of myself. It's not that it's just like me just not realizing my worth and my value. And so the more and more I grow, the more I read and study, the more I build and stuff like that, the more and more I'm realizing my worth. I'm realizing that things around my life can change. It can change just based on the value, the value that I see of myself in different aspects. And I can go deeper with that because I've always, for the most part, for some years now, for about like 9 years, I've had a high value of myself doing community work. But when it came to like working for other people, jobs and stuff that I didn't like, I didn't understand my value in that space because I just didn't like it. I didn't want to work for anybody. I didn't realize that there's an honor in, just even for myself. It's not even about the employee, but there's an honor of me being of service to other people. There's an honor for the skills and the habits that I can pick up there that I can take somewhere else in life. So, I can go on and on with that conversation, but I'm just, giving just a little bit of my story in terms of my learning curve, of realizing my patterns. And the more and more I spend more time with myself, that my life is dedicated to studying my patterns, especially the unhealthy ones, the ones that are hindering me from getting to the next level. So this information that I'm sharing, it is for brothers, who feel like they don't really have any more options. There are many options that are out here. There are many options. And too many times we're not surrounded by enough people who can give us those options. And sometimes the options have been spoken to us. We just are not at that place of awareness and understanding at that time that this is the key. And sometimes that key to that door or that key to that road, it don't mean you're going to be traveling on that road for 500 miles. That key to the road might be a road that's only 30 miles. And then while you on that 30 miles track or trek, you go another direction. What I'm saying is your journey, you 30 miles here, on this one, then you hop off, you 80 miles over here. So, but the whole time, you still getting to where you want to be at and where you need to be at. But the roads and the paths and the routes that you take can differ. And they can be a lot different than the way how you thought it to be. So I would say always control that. You know what I'm saying? In terms of our impressions and our ideas of how we're supposed to get where we want to be. Sometimes the universe has a different path than what we thought. And a lot of times that's a humbling experience. And that's an ultimate test of character, is when we have to detour or take other routes. Or sometimes we got to take 3 steps back in order to make 6 steps forward and things like that, Sometimes it might not be a part of your plan. So for things not to be a part of the plan should be part of the plan. So I do this for brothers that are just feeling hopeless. They got families to feed and, they drain. They drain and they feel like they're lowest and they feel like they can't take no more. That's who I do this for. That's who I do this for. So, I want brothers to know that there is hope. YouTube, you on a platform that is full of wealth of information to get yourself started in a new path right now. But it's just going to take a lot of inner work. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take networking, finding people to be able to talk to that can be able to help build you. It's going to take all of those things. But overall, that's who I do this for. So I just wanted to put that out there. Before I go, I got my single Fly Away coming March the 22nd. Pre-orders will be available March the 15th, which is 4 days. Beautiful track. I can't wait to, for people to hear it and, please share your feedback and things like that. Like, this is a very, beautiful thing. Oh, and another thing I wanted to say, because it's something I forgot about. What's so important about my story is for brothers who's like myself who don't have credentials. I don't have a college degree. I do not have a trade, right? So my message is for those brothers. Because a lot of us, people would say that, how you going to make it? How you going to make it? And I'm not advocating that if you're interested in going to college, getting a trade, not to do that. But there are still options even if you do not do that, But if that's what you choose to do, more power to you, because there are tools and resources that can, pay your way or greatly reduce the cost. So, I'm not going to knock anybody, against that. But a lot of times, people in the financial independence world, I don't find people that just didn't have no credentials, got a criminal background, and they got a lot of responsibility. They live dead flat in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it ain't adding up. And they got to find another way. They got to. So that's what I do this for. Everybody have a good one. Subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell to get notifications every time I drop. And like I said, be on the look for Fly Away. The link to my website will be at the in the description. IamPoetDeep.com. Thank y'all for tuning in. And please share if you're feeling this. Peace.